Welcome to the channel, everybody. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and the Blackest Heart and The Lonesome Crown, all published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Pay no attention to the cars. Don't even look at the rental car that I brought here. We are here at Gettysburg to review The Killer Angels by Michael Shaara, the Pulitzer Prize winning novel of The Battle of Gettysburg by Michael Shaara, right here from Gettysburg. In fact, behind me is Little Round Top, the hill where the bulk of this novel takes place. So, Gettysburg itself. Let's just talk about that before we get to the particulars of this novel. By the way, a gorgeously written novel. No wonder it won the Pulitzer Prize. This thing details the Battle of Gettysburg, and especially the Battle of Round Top. It blows you away. I mean, over 100,000 soldiers from both the North and the South. Over 50,000 of them killed. Right here in Gettysburg. You know, the battle lasted 3 days. Little Round Top, this book is about Robert E. Lee, Lieutenant Longstreet, Joshua Chamberlain, the lieutenant that ran the commander of the 20th of Maine, and the Battle of Little Round Top here. So let's talk about it. In this book, we know, and we'll be doing some spoilers. I mean, it is the Civil War, so a few spoilers here, but it is just history. And you probably, if you know anything about Gettysburg, you already know what I'm going to talk about. The Battle of Little Round Top. Right here we are at the, this is, right where I'm standing is where the Southern Army, now the Southern Army, the reason the Battle of Gettysburg was so important was because the Southern Army was invading the North. This is right on the Pennsylvania-Maryland border, Gettysburg, and it's a northern town, and the South was invading the North here. So the North needed to hold Gettysburg, and this hill here was sort of the barrier between the South taking Gettysburg or not. And so this whole battlefield right here, it stretches out way out here, is very important because this is where the Southern Army was, and they had to take that hill. This is the Northern Army was cornered on the top of this hill, and right up here you've got the New York regiments. There's a whole bunch of regiments guarding this hill, and they were shooting down into this, and the South was shooting up to the hill. Now, the important part of this story is Joshua Chamberlain was charged with guarding the flank of the hill. He was charged with guarding the other side of Little Round Top. And there's huge memorials. If you go up, if you hike around up on Little Round Top, there are memorials. You can kind of see them up there. There are statues, hundreds of statues and memorials. And in fact, Gettysburg is known to have more statues and memorials and artwork here dedicated to one thing than anywhere else in the world. Like, if this national park has more artwork, statues, things like these cannons, historical artifacts than anywhere else in the world. Now, I haven't felt like more emotion about a battlefield site than I did, I mean, when I went to Omaha Beach in France, where the World War II soldiers stormed the beaches of Normandy. I haven't felt this way about a battlefield, like such sacred ground this is, such hallowed ground, These men, like Joshua Chamberlain, and specifically Joshua Chamberlain, was fighting to free all men, to free the slaves. The Declaration of Independence was a document written by Thomas Jefferson about freedom. And men like Joshua Chamberlain were fighting for freedom. Now, a lot of the soldiers in the North and South, it wasn't about slavery to them at all. It was about states' rights. This was also a war. It was a war to free the slaves, but it was also a war for the Southerners. It was a war to keep states' rights. And so the Southerners were fighting, not only to keep their slaves for the elite 1% that owned the slaves, but they also wanted to keep their states' rights. So now the Northerners were fighting also to keep states' rights, but also to free the slaves. And it was the Republicans. It was the Republican Army of the North versus the Southern Democrats, and Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, and so this was a lot at stake here. And Joshua Chamberlain, the main character in this book, who was guarding the flank of Little Round Top, he'd made up his mind as a young child that he would always do the right thing. He would always say the right thing. He would always do the brave thing in any circumstance. I mean, he made up his mind as a youngster that he was going to just be a good person and do the right thing under any circumstance. And his will was tested here because this, like I said, this hill was surrounded by the Southern Army. Joshua Chamberlain started out with 500-600 some odd people in his main regiment, and he was down to about 70 or 90, somewhere in there, and they were out of ammunition, and they were at the top of this hill, and their orders were to guard the flank of this hill, the other side of this hill, because the Southern Army was going to flank the hill, and they were going to come up from all sides. And Chamberlain was outnumbered 4-1. There were 300-400 Southern Mississippi soldiers. I don't know, they might have been the Alabama regiment was coming up the flank of that hill, and Joshua Chamberlain was outnumbered 4-1. All of his ammo was gone, and all of his people wanted to surrender, and because they could see the enemy charging up the hill, and he just said, nope, fix bayonets. And I know we don't got no weapon, we don't have any bullets for our weapons, but we do have bayonets. You fix bayonets and you charge down that hill and you meet that army that's charging up the hill. And by God, his soldiers, they answered the call, and they charged down that hill with their bayonets. They charged down the other side of the hill, the flank of this hill, charged down it with such violence and determination that when they got to the bottom, they had killed so many of the enemy that the Southern commander gave up his pistol and rifle, and all of the men underneath him surrendered their pistols and rifles to Chamberlain and his ragtag, depleted, hungry, starved army. Hot. It was hot here. It was like 100 degrees here. I mean, it was miserable conditions. Surrendered to Chamberlain and his bayonet-wielding army. Can you believe that? And it was a decision that he made when he was a kid, that he was going to, under any circumstance, he was going to do the brave and correct and right thing. He held the flank of this mountain. The North won the battle. It was the closest the South ever came to winning the Civil War, was right here. And because of that man's determination and his will to do the right thing, the battle was won. And so, yeah, I went up and I saw the 20th of Maine's statue and the little memorial they built for them, and Chamberlain. It's cool. It's just a cool place. Like I said, this Gettysburg and Omaha Beach are some of the most sacred ground I've ever walked on. And if you want to read a great book about what I'm talking about, just a book that's written beautifully, a Pulitzer Prize winning novel written in 1974. It's got a great cover, got a great looking graphic. This is the paperback. I've got a really nice looking hardcover at home, but I just brought the paperback for the tour here. Anyway, and there's my rental car still sitting there. Anyway, let's give this novel a big fat 10 out of 10, and let's all of us read our history. Let's get to know our history. Let's come and visit places like Gettysburg, and that's it. That's what this channel's about. That's what this channel is about, is reading all the books.